Versatile Mage. Chapter 693. Blood Emperor Throne, the Ancient King. The 9 bridges of death and 1 bridge of life began to collapse. The ancient jade used to construct the bridges fell into the deep abyss before they were shattered into pieces by the black gust. There was only 1 bridge left, the one leading to the altar of the tomb. The altar was covered in pitch-black darkness on a platform that seemed to be floating in the dark for eternity. The altar had the shape of an ice cap. The stairs made of stones at the bottom were incredibly huge. Each stair was a few times taller than a human. It felt like the stairs were not meant to be climbed by humans, but built by some giant deities instead. From afar, red ribbons were dangling from the altar on the top corners of the stairs. However, after a closer look, they were no ribbons, but thick blood falling down the stairs like waterfalls. The top corners of the stairs were constructed in the shape of dragon heads. The waterfalls of blood poured out from the dragons' mouths from a great height. The loud rumbling of the bloodfalls echoed in the area. Zhang Xiaohou recalled the same dragons spitting out water on the rooftop of the museum in the inner city. However, the ones on the museum were designed as drains for the rain, a spectacular sight on rainy days. In comparison, the dragons here at the altar were fairly spooky. It was hard to tell if it was some kind of red liquid or real, flesh blood that had still been flowing after over 2,000 years. As the group climbed the stairs, the size of the altar began to shrink. The path gradually turned narrower the higher they went. The width of the stairs was the same length as a person's long stride. I can see the top. The thing up there must be the Blood Emperor throne that Fanggu mentioned. Su Xiaoluo wiped the sweat off her forehead. Her pale face was filled with a hint of joy. They had finally arrived at the Blood Emperor throne after going through untold hardships. Hopefully, they were still in time. With so many lives at stake, even though the altar floating in the endless darkness looked extremely terrifying, the group was determined to risk their lives, even if it meant going through mountains of daggers and a sea of flames. Otherwise, the lives of millions of people in the city would become the sacrifices for the Black Vatican and Salon's festival. "We're here, we made it," Su Xiaoluo said to Zhang Xiaohou behind her in excitement, as she was the first to make it to the top. Zhang Xiaohou was tired as he made it to the top. He glanced at the top of the altar made of white jade and saw a huge jadeite at the center. The jadeite was red and transparent with rising edges. It looked like a throne with countless swords stuck to it. The Blood Emperor throne. The person sitting on the Blood Emperor throne must be the ancient king, Ying Zheng. Zhang Xiaohou took a deep breath and proceeded forward. There was indeed someone sitting on the Blood Emperor throne, but it was hard to tell if the person was alive or dead. He was wearing a black battle robe, obviously a historical artifact. However, it still had an icy glow, to the extent that Zhang Xiaohou could easily see his own timid reflection as he approached the throne. The person was sitting on the throne, supporting his jaw with a hand. His body leaned sideways slightly. The shadows under the cap on his head barely concealed his face. However, the light produced by the fire on the altar revealed his lower jaw and the evil grin he was wearing. He seemed to be either taking a nap or in deep thought. Either way, he did not look like a dead person. Zhang Xiaohu's forehead was fully covered in sweat. He never thought an emperor who had died over 2,000 years ago would apply such great pressure to him. In Zhang Xiaohu's mind, the person could stand up at any second and stare right into his eyes with a gaze that would easily shatter his soul. By then, he would have trouble remaining standing. "I'm curious." Suddenly, the person sitting on the throne spoke. The voice gave Zhang Xiaohou, Lu Ru, and Su Xiaoluo a fright. It felt like their scalps were on the verge of exploding. "How did you find a way out of the space of death?" The voice continued, as the person slowly raised his head. The light of the fire slowly chased the shadows concealing the person's face away, revealing a familiar face with 2 lines of white sideburns. His thick lips were dark purple, with purple runes spreading to his cheeks, granting him a very eerie appearance. How are you here?" Lu Ru was the first to exclaim. They were definitely familiar with the face, as it belonged to Fang Gu, who had chosen to pick a bridge on his own. Zhang Xiaohe was stunned, too. He could not tell if the person was the ancient king, Ying Zheng, or Fang Gu who had picked the right bridge, since his aura was totally different than before. "What's happening? Why are you sitting here?" said Zhang Xiaohe in disbelief. "Why can't I be sitting here?" Fang Gu laughed. "Where's the ancient king?" blurted out Su Xiaoluo. "I am the one you're looking for." "You're Fang Gu." "Not anymore. Everything is as I have speculated. The real ancient king has already passed away as time went by. All that was left was a battle robe that was attached to his corpse, and the Blood Emperor throne that can command the kingdom of undead." Fang Gu rose to his feet. The armored robe he was wearing clanked loudly. "What do you mean?" asked Zhang Xiaohe. "The first person to reach here will inherit everything from the ancient king. His white palace, and his kingdom of undead that his hands raised. He had an endless supply of energy, and unmatchable wisdom." Fang Gu's voice, with a hint of strange metallic sound, echoed at the top of the altar. "Then what are you doing sitting there? Hurry up and chase the army of undead and the mountain zombie away. Stop the dark abyss from drifting into the city," said Su Xiaoluo. Fang Gu burst out laughing when he heard Su Xiaoluo's words. His laughter sounded extremely weird. Even though the sound had come from his throat, it felt like something hiding under his skin was making the noise. "What are you laughing at?" snapped Su Xiaoluo. Zhang Xiaohe pulled Su Xiaoluo, signaling her to stand behind him. Su Xiaoluo immediately realized something when she saw his stern expression. She quickly stepped a few steps back. "How amusing. My soldiers, my generals, and my officials are taking back the city that's supposed to be mine. Why would I stop them?" Fang Gu's laughter sounded even spookier. Zhang Xiaohe, Lu Ru, and Su Xiaoluo were backing off slowly. They could no longer tell if it was Fang Gu wearing the battle robe, or the ancient king, Ying Zheng, resurrected through Fang Gu's body. Either way, his ghastly appearance and his weird voice implied that he was not friendly. "Is he Fang Gu or not?" whispered Su Xiaoluo. "I'm afraid not," said Lu Ru. Lu Ru could easily capture the scent of a living human. The truth was, she did not sense a living presence from Fang Gu. Fang Gu might have assumed the ancient king was dead. Once he wore the battle robe, he would inherit everything from the ancient king. However, from his twisted expression, it turned out that Fang Gu was the one who had been inherited. Chapter end. Please guys like, comment, share, and subscribe.